Okay. I worked on this lab called Velociraptor. It is a open source DFIR tool, digital forensic and incident response tool. It is an open source tool. My understanding is that it is a very robust tool. Couple of advantages that I have noted. Number one, it has a single binary, single executable, and you can set it up as a server or a client, the endpoint, using the same binary but changing the configuration file. It gives a lot of flexibility. And secondly, this server that you use here, it doesn't require a lot of computing power because most of the heavy lifting, most of the execution is on the endpoints, and endpoints results are transferred to the client, to the server. Basically, the server just collects and analyzes the output or the investigation results or hunt results in the server. Well, it has a standalone language called VQL, Velociraptor Query Language, but that is not a full-blown language. It is basically, by the definition used in the documentation, it's a glue language, which helps the user to put together artifacts, and that is the next definition that I'd like to go through. Here, the term artifact is used as programs. There are built-in programs or user-generated programs. They're all called artifacts. So those artifacts are executed on the server. They are sent over to the endpoints, and endpoints. At the endpoints, the code is the code defined by the VQL language inside the artifact is executed. My understanding is that you can have this Velociraptor for a number of clients or endpoints, or thousands of endpoints. It can get connected to a big number of endpoints, and it also has, we'll see that as well, it also has this beautiful functionality that you can run shell commands as system privileges on the endpoints. Also, one other thing, well, I can discuss some of the other aspects while going through the tutorial. Task 1, it just tells us the story that Rapid7 acquires the tool. So probably this Velociraptor will not be a free tool anymore, but it will help it to get more stronger or more robust in a way. That's the expectation at least. All right, so there are a couple of documents here to read. It's basically a start here. So task 2 here, I think I submitted. Okay, I'm sorry. Who acquired Velociraptor? Rapid7. It's mentioned on the article. Yeah, okay, so task 1 is complete. Now, task 2 is deployment. Now, in task 2, we will deploy the server, and in task 3, we will deploy the client. Again, we will use the same binary, just change the configuration file. So when we will deploy the server, there's a trick here. So I have the virtual machine here with this IP 10.10.181.179. TryHackMe calls it attack box. It's on the right-hand side. Um, um, Based on what I see here, even though it's a Windows machine, by using this Windows subsystem for Linux property, we can run the Velociraptor on a Linux environment, and it's a Ubuntu environment here. So I turn it on. So this is the Linux environment. We will basically run the server, Velociraptor server on that environment. Okay, so let's follow it down so we can open a new. Well, this here means that you can view this machine on the full scale. I don't think it's necessary at this point. Okay, so let me see the directory, the content inside. Okay, so here on this directory, we have this configuration file and the executable file. So what we need to do is we need to call the executable file. All right, and then tech configuration file. Okay. Dot config. Okay, and then we'll call front end for the server and TechV. Now we are standing up the server or starting the server on this Ubuntu environment. Okay, let's go forward. Now what we will do is we will open the browser, and basically it listens on the local host. So we can have a user interface to interact with the server. So on this Ubuntu environment, there is no interaction. So this user interface here through that shortcut on this is on the local host, and that's the port it's using. We can have access to the full functionality of the server. It says it's not private, but we trust Velociraptor here. Now I need to enter the username and password. So username is TryHackMe admin and TryHackMe admin and try. All right, so username and password are correct. So this is the user interface that we will interact. And this is, remember, this is the server. The server is on the Ubuntu environment, Linux environment. All right, let's continue. Okay, using documentation, how would you launch an instant Velociraptor? So they call it instant Velociraptor. And on the documentation, I can open up. I don't need these. Okay, in the documentation for deployment, if I go down here, they're called instant Velociraptor. It's basically a fully functional Velociraptor system deployed on our local machine, and we can just use this command here, velociraptor.exe.gui or space GUI. So if you put it over there, good. So task 2 is complete. All right. Now the next task is interacting with the client. So this time we will be starting up the client. And as I have discussed with you earlier, it's the same binary with a different configuration. So we will run it on the Windows system. So I'll open the command prompt here. And if you look at the directory, okay, it is not here. So I need to go see program files. Oops. And Velociraptor. Okay. This is the directory. So if I, no, it's not ls, it's the directory. Okay, now I see the executable and the configuration file. So same command, I will run the executable first. Okay, that tag config and configuration file. Okay, now I will just type client and tag. In fact, let me pause for a while. Well, this using the same executable is a perfect advantage because by using Velociraptor, we can create an artifact which will interact with the connected endpoints, thousands of endpoints, and it can send out the executable and run it. So clients will start responding back. So it will get the connection established to do that. So having one binary has a lot of flexibility putting the system together. Now, I clicked enter, so I will now have the client Velociraptor up and running on the Windows environment. So we have the server on the Linux environment and the client on the Windows environment. So everything looks perfect so far. Now it starts to tell us how the menu and the settings here. So let's go over there. So let me move it or keep the symbol the font a little bit smaller so I can see everything in that half window here. So when we click on show all, it will show us that this client, which is on the Windows environment here, Windows environment, is connected. This green means it is interacting, and it's a real-time interaction. And I also forgot to mention that the artifacts, the comments, they can get executed very quickly. So you will get responses very quick. And in fact, we will see an example over here. So it's online status, client ID, host name, operating system version. And if I click all and go into details of that, I will see the agent version, host name, and architecture and release. So I think we can now answer the question. Okay, we have this VQL drill down. Let's go here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 important windows here. So VQL drill down is showing us the memory and CPU footprint over the past 24 hours for the client that I'm looking at. And as I told you here, we can go to the shell and we can run we can run comments as a system user on the client, on the endpoints using Velociraptor. This is awesome. And here it says that run this who am I command. So remember, this is the server on the Ubuntu environment, and I'm sending this who am I command to the endpoint, which is connected on the Windows environment. If I launch it, show it, no, okay, here I press the wrong button. So it shows that we are on the Windows machine using the administrative account. This is great. So connected. Well, I go over here. So I mentioned about artifacts. Artifacts are small programs written by this glue language called VQL and just sends comment to the endpoints. Now here, for example, this who am I command I submitted is an also artifact. It sends a VQL command to the client, right? And we'll talk about that more. So we can put together new artifacts ourselves, or we can use this database called artifact exchange. Let me emphasize it. So I think it's a very powerful tool here. So this is an open source tool, right? So users can generate their own artifacts, their own programs for certain tasks. So users can also share their artifacts with others through this Velociraptor exchange. And now I remember also something, that this PowerShell command that I submitted on this client for who am I, it took 1.60 seconds. I mean, it's a simple task, but even if we have thousands of clients connected, that who am I command will be executed concurrently on each client. So the time, the duration will still be very, very little. All right. That's good. And it talks about the artifacts and the details. We'll talk more about that. And also the interrogate functionality. Now here, what is the host name for the client? So I'm basically going to menu here. So I have only one endpoint connected, one client connected. The host name is this here. I copy it here, paste it. Correct. What is listed as the agent version? Agent, I think I need to click over here, and the agent version is listed on the overview page. Copy and paste. Good. In the collected tab, let's go to the collected tab. What was the VQL command to query the client user account? So we can go to the request, and request will show us the VQL commands. So if you pay attention, this is the who am I command that I send on this Windows PowerShell command I just did a while back, and this is an artifact. Here is the question is about the client user account. So I need to go to this generate client info artifact that has been executed before we start running this machine. And the user account is, if I'm not wrong, it should be this one. So this is the VQL. And if you look at the structure of the VQL, it is close to SQL. It has some binding words. It's a glue language. This is how they call it. So that's the VQL command, I hope. Yeah, okay. So in the collected tab, check the results of the PowerShell query command. Okay, this is that one. This artifact is this PowerShell query command, right? What is the column header that shows the output of the command? Okay, so we can now go to results. Okay, so this is the response to this who am I command, and this column header is std out. Copy. All right, good. So in the shell, run the following PowerShell command get date. Okay, I'll go to go to the client and shell command. PowerShell, right? It's a Windows machine, so I can use this PowerShell command. I know the client is on a Windows environment, so get data, launch. All right, and click over here. So Thursday, August 25th, 8:19 p.m. All right. What was the PowerShell command executed with VQL to retrieve the result? Okay, so I will go to the collected, and now you see my second PowerShell command, which was executed in 0.66 seconds. It's finished. So I can go to log here, and you see here I have this VQL shell command, and that's the PowerShell command on the endpoint. I don't know if I have to take the brackets, but let's try. All right, submit. Okay, I don't have to put the brackets. Okay, so task 2 is complete. Task 3 is complete. So task 1 is an introduction. Task 2, we deployed the client, the server on a Ubuntu environment, Linux environment. On task 3, we had a client on the Windows environment. Okay, so task 4, creating new collection. Okay, it talks about collections and artifacts. So I go over here again, this client, and collected, and I can now add a collection. So let's talk about it here. So you can click here and the plus sign, and plus sign will show you the artifacts available for us to use. So you can use any one, let's say Windows, let's say this one, admin client upgrade. So you can use this artifact, and it tells us what the purpose and the source code is, and we can configure the parameters, specify sources, and review and launch. Or we can go to this menu here, view artifacts, and we can generate or write our own artifact using the VQL code. Right? We can also use the artifacts available on this artifact exchange, which is where other users are sharing their artifacts with the community. Right? In this case, we are asked to use this built-in artifact. So I go to the collected. I select endpoint, go to the collected. Now let me go back here. So we have only one endpoint collected, but we can have thousands of them. So we can just select them all the endpoints, and put together an artifact which will send the VQL commands into thousands of machines. Or we can just select a subset of the available machines, or maybe one of the machines. It's up to us. Now I'll go to collected. I will click the plus sign. Now I can search for the artifact, which is this cave file. All right. So I don't want to go to details of this. I will just need to see the application side of it. So we can go and follow the. So now I selected that artifact. Okay. Configure the parameters. So I will go to parameters configuration, click the plus sign. So uses file accessor when possible. NTFS parser. Right. So I now need to select if I'm not wrong here, let me go back. Okay. It says scroll down and check Ubuntu. So I need to find Ubuntu and select that. I don't know if Control F works. It does. Ubuntu. Okay, there you go. I go to Ubuntu and select that. So out of the all available option, I'm selecting Ubuntu, and then it says new specify sources. Here, I don't know if I have to do anything with this, so I just checked it. Specify sources, review, okay, and launch. Okay, now here I executed this Windows cave files targets artifact on this endpoint connected. Here you see this clock here. It says it is executed here. It's running. I don't know how long it will take. We can wait for a while, but it should not take long here. So it talks about that. All right. Earlier you created a new artifact collection for Windows cave files targets. Ubuntu artifacts, read the parameters for setting what's the parameters specifically looking for, right? So while it's running, we can go to this artifact. If I can go here. Okay, so it is finished, by the way. And these are the results, logs, and notebook. So basically this first question is telling me which parameter I selected, and this is really what I did. Ubuntu, I cannot do that. So I will go to there here, try to mimic what I've done earlier. Configure parameters and Ubuntu. Okay, so this is really what I did here. I use Ubuntu Windows subsystem. Copy. Okay, that I believe this is what it's asking me to answer here. All right, that's good. So review the output. How many files were uploaded? Okay, now I don't need that, so I can go back. So now I'm back to this artifact that we executed. So we can go to, okay, it's asking how many files were uploaded. So go to the uploaded files, and we see 20 here. All right. So there are 20 files uploaded. Submit. Works. Awesome. Very good. Now this task is also complete. So far we have finished the first 4 tests. So test number 5. This hands-on Velociraptor tools is awesome because it shows us the functionality and the interesting features of the program. So this virtual file system, I find it very interesting. It basically has is lets us to see the file system and in fact browse through the file system on the endpoint. This is amazing. So this is now I'm on the server interface. I select this endpoint. This is the only one I'm connected. I can go to this VFS virtual file system, and here I can see the file. I can browse the files on the endpoint. This is amazing. So there are 3 buttons here. So I just click on this file, and then what we need to do is we need to refresh the directory. So every time we go one layer, we need to refresh it. It takes a while to get the full picture of that, right? Which accessor can access hidden NTFS files and alternate data system? I think I get this info on the documentation, and if I'm not wrong, it should be the NTFS accessor, NTFS accessor. Okay, I won't go through this. These are really given on the documentation, and you can just spend time on this because documentation is comprehensive. It covers a lot, so it's available, and it's also very user friendly. It has very good pictures and demos. Now, which accessor provides file-like access to the registry? I think it's also mentioned somewhere here. There you go. Similarly, registry accessors provides file-like access to the registry. So I'll call it registry accessor, I guess. Okay, good. What is the name of the file in the recycle bin? Okay, it took me a while to find this. So on the C, right? If I will refresh it, is that the file? Okay. I also let me pause the video for now and do this because scrolling is or browsing or refreshing the files takes a while. So I will continue with that. All right. It's taking less time than I expected, so I can continue with the video. So um, basically the question is what's the name of the file in the recycle bin? So I can go to this recycle bin folder. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we are now browsing the files on the endpoint on the client. It's very powerful. So I'm just refreshing, and inside recycle bin there is a directory, and this file's name is desktop. So desktop dot okay, that's perfect. So there is a hidden text in a file located in the admins documents folder. Okay, so we go to users and administrators and refresh it. What is the flag? So there is a flag. So it's on the documents, right? Admins documents folder. All right, so refresh. So we are browsing on the user, the admin's account, admin's documents. So flag text, let's say hidden tag. So this is this one. So we can now collect it from the client. It's basically fetching it from the client, is downloading it, and I can look at this text view, and that will show the flag. THM and something. Submit. Good. So task 5 is also complete. Task 6, what is that? It's VQL Velociraptor query language. Okay. It's telling us basically that it has its own glue language, and they have this documentation discussing that in length. It's on the VQL Velociraptor difference. I like this logo, let's call it. That's very uh, interesting one. Right. So, and you remember, this is the VQL command we use in the earlier tasks. So to execute a simple VQL on your own, first create a notebook. So we will create a notebook, and it tells us how we do that. Okay. Okay. I went through this, so I think I remember. But this is just a demo, so I think we can all do it. So I can directly go to the questions. And here it talks about artifacts. And artifacts, as we discussed, these are the programs written using VQL command. They can be built in or user-defined programs. So let's say you worked on a problem which where you would develop your own artifact. You can save it in your system with the known name, and you can also upload it on the artifact exchange to share it with the rest of the community. This is great. So I'll go to the documentation. I think this is where I'm supposed to go now. This is task 6, right? Okay. So what is followed after the select keyword in standard VQL query? So I'll go there here. I don't know if it's there. Okay. So it talks about artifacts. So after the select keyword in the standard VQL query. So let's take a look at that. Okay. I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be looking at. There was a better VQL fundamentals. Okay, so after select, you have this column selector. So that is really what we were looking for, I guess. Column selectors. Okay, what goes after the from keyword? So this is the from keyword. Then we will be having VQL plugin with arguments. It's 2 words, so we'll just put VQL plugin. Okay, what is followed by the where keyboard? So followed by the where keyboard, these are filter condition, right? Filter condition or filter expression. I don't know which one will go here. So filter condition. No, it didn't work. Filter expression. Okay, it works. What can you type in Notepad interface to view a list of possible completions for a keyword? Okay, there you go. This is where it is discussed. So basically, this question mark will give the VQL plugin completions. All right, so it is the question mark. Very good. So what plugin would you use to run PowerShell code from the Velociraptor? What plugin would you use to run PowerShell code from Velociraptor? PowerShell. I have to find where it is discussed. I went through this earlier, but it took me a while to remember where I saw it. Give me 1 second. Class there. Enumerate rate. Conditions here. So this is the control structure, not really what we were looking for. Okay. Query. Okay, so that is the window. Okay, so this PowerShell. Anyway, okay. So if I'm not wrong, this exec v is really what we will be using. Let me copy it. So this is regular expression operator. All right, so if I'm not wrong, it should be exactly here. It's a plugin of functions, so maybe parentheses. Okay, that works too. So now we have this task 6 also complete. Task 6 was about VQL structure. All right, so task 7 is forensic analysis. Again, this I also used this documentation to answer the questions here. So what's the question? What are the arguments of parse MFT? So, okay, parse MFT, I think, if I'm not wrong, I saw it in the searching file names here. Parse MFT. Okay, this is not there. Where was it? Did I searching content? Okay, MFT entries. Okay, if I'm not wrong, it should be over here. Okay, so here, that's the plugin or function we have here. So arguments are this. So I believe I will collect the whole here. So arguments, parse MFT. Okay, that works. What filter expression will ensure that no directories are returned in the results? Okay, that I just passed a while back. This globe, where was it? Okay, searching file. Okay, there you go. So this is really the plugin or the functions used to search for the file system. And there are, it's a long explanation about how the search can be conducted for effective results. And towards the end, there you go. It has this is directory, let's call it method or argument. And that if you use the Boolean negative with that, basically you are excluding the results that have the file directory as the name that you're searching for. So there is really what you are using to filter out or to exclude the directories out of your search. Okay, that works. All right, so we are coming to the end. So this test number 8. That test took me a while to understand it completely. In fact, I I overthought the problem. I worked on the aspects that are not really necessary. So terminate the previous machine, which is this one. I terminated that. All right, and then I have a new machine here. On this machine, let's go through, while the machine is loading up, let's go through the test. So basically, we are asked to use the artifact for a known vulnerability. So print nightmare is this vulnerability that we are asked to look at. Let's go over here. So this is the principal remote code execution vulnerability. So based on my search, it's one of the well-known vulnerabilities on Windows machine. I'm familiar with this. Basically, this print spooler, is it should be DLL, right? So this executable, print spooler executable, is really keeping the print jobs or storing the print jobs until they are executed, and they can be exploited to gain the privilege or system permissions, right? So you can inject a remote code and execute it and get the privilege rights. So this is it's a well-known case. So in the artifact exchange, there is an artifact for that problem. However, on this test, the developers for this module, this tutorial, they don't want us to use the artifact available on the exchange. They don't, in fact, they like us to put together a skeleton query, which is a much simpler version of what is available on the artifact exchange. It is in a way reinventing the wheel for a problem, which is okay. So I spent the time to put it together a more comprehensive VQL comments, but it was beyond my level, so I didn't do a good job. And since artifact exchange already has this artifact available for use, this lab is not really necessary, but it helps us to practice on the VQL. I understand that. Anyways, so we will look at this known vulnerability and put together our query here. So they leave some of the VQL comments incomplete for us to work on it and make it complete. So I worked on this then, so let's go through that. So what's the name in the artifact exchange to detect this print nightmare? This is the vulnerability. So what is the name in the artifact exchange? So I go to this, I go to this artifact exchange, and I will search for print nightmare. Print, there it is. So this is the name of the artifact on the artifact exchange. Copy, go over here. Oops, it's not correct. Let me go. Is this? Oh, there you go. Maybe. Yeah, yeah. So I was a little hasty. So there is a monitoring and detection. So this is the one that we are looking at. I hope. Okay, good. So per above instructions, what's your select clause? No space after commas. So basically, as I told you earlier, so we are asked to complete this skeleton query for this problem, and it tells us what really we need to do. Basically, so this full path we will go to select clause, and it will concatenate the C and the full path and the file name. So full path will be saved as full underscore path, file name, file underscore file name. So we know where to put over here. And for this, for the rest, I think what we can do is I can copy this, um, and we can copy it and paste it on Notepad. So this file name, I will say the file name as explained here. So the full path, it should be as is explained here. It should be full path, and then I think I need to put a comma here. File name as file underscore name. Okay, it takes file underscore name. All right, and parse p5 full path as, and that is really this p is parsing over here. So that is really what I'm supposed to put here. Make sure the column header for the should be renamed to PE. So the column header is P. Okay, so that should be what I'm supposed to put, I believe. That works. Well, again, if you don't find it, if you find it a bit confusing, don't worry about it too much because this artifact is already available for other users to use. If I'm not wrong, it's one of the built-in artifacts. And so what is the name of the DLL that was placed by the attacker and the PDB entry? Okay, so these are the parts that it will take a while for me to explain. So if we go over here, it mentioned about the notebook. So we would create a notebook. So what I will do first is I will go this CMD. So now the new terminal is up and running. So I'll go to command prompt and run this executable here, and it is on the desktop. So I'll go cd desktop um, directory. Okay. Now we have this Velociraptor execute, and remember we will be using the instant Velociraptor, so it is Velociraptor dot exe and GUI. That will run the instant Velociraptor. Okay. Okay, so I need to trust the Velociraptor user interface. It's going to local host. Yes, it's giving me the admin rights. Okay, and it should now I have this interaction module. So I'll go over here and go to notebooks. Right. So I will create a notebook. Let's call it a notebook. Description again, notebook, and user admin and submit. Now I click over here, so click on this text and I need to edit here. So what I will do is I will have a VQL script to record on the notebook or filter on the notebook on what I will be having. And for that, I'll be using this skeleton query here. So I can select over here. So it will be select. And before I go forward, I forgot to mention, I need to go and change it to VQL. Markdown is really for command. So VQL is on the script version here. So it will be this skeleton query now. C colon and forward slash, and then I will add the full path as full path type R, and comma file name has file underscore name, and then parse underscore PE, that's the function. So it will be file equals C directory, and hold on, I need to put, okay, plus full path as PE from parse MFT. So I can maybe make it bigger. So I'm just making it extended just on that. All right. So where are we now? Okay. Parse MFT parenthesis file name equals C colon MFT accessor equals NFTS close parenthesis. All. So I don't want to include the directories on the search, so it is where not is directory. So this directories are not included. I can put and the full path. I can copy and paste from the terminal, so I have to type it myself. Windows / system32 school files. So this is where we have the executable for this printer school theory and P. Okay, so that should work. I'll save it and I'll execute it. No, there's an error here. Let me look at it very quick. Select C plus full path as full path. Am I not allowed to put commas? Let's take a look. File name as file name. I will just move the parse p file plus full path. Okay, SPE from parse MFT file name CMFT accessor NTFS where not is directory and full path equals don't have space in here and P. Okay, I think the indentation can be an issue as well. So okay, I can't get this. So just give me a couple of seconds to explore that. This as I think it's case sensitive here. not the answer. Okay. It's file name. I think I have this Windows uppercase and the system uppercase and spool and drivers. Okay, still not working. All right, so I should just read this here. So it is NTNF TS. I think it should be NTFS. That's a silly typo here. So the code is complete. So it is calculating. So basically, we will be giving out the outcome from the endpoints. So from the endpoint, we have only one endpoint connected, basically. So we see the full path, the file name, and this file headers here, P. It covers the info we need. So let's go back to what we need. So what's the name of the DLL that was placed by the attacker, and what is the PDB entry? All right, so let's go back here. So it is still running. So if I'm not wrong, we have to have around 70. So let me see. So it is still getting executed. So far we have 26 results. So this is still running. I don't see any indications of running. There you go. It is still calculating up here. So it is still calculating. So we need to wait for a while. Okay, I waited for a couple of more minutes, and the notebook has fully executed over here. So if we go all the way to the end, we have 29 results. And the last one here, let me put here, the last one. There you go. So it's Nightmare DLL. That's really the DLL file the attacker placed in our system. And the PDB is the database extension here. And it shows us that user Caleb has this inside this source and repos directories and the nightmare, and it's the 64-bit version, and that's the name nightmare PDB. So this will be the PDB database extension for that file. C, I forgot to get the C. Okay, C and then control. Good. All right. So task 8 is also complete. Well, my comments on task 8 is that well, it works for a purpose. It helps us to practice on the VQL, but artifact exchange is a very powerful aspect of this open source tool, where we can have access to various artifacts from different users. It's a service to the community. So if I had internet connection on this machine that I worked on, I would have gone to the artifact exchange and import the built-in artifact and run it directly. But here we had this opportunity to practice on the skeleton VQL query. Well, that finishes up the task 8. So last task, it says basically that it is acquired by Rapid7, so it will probably won't be free anymore, but it has some advantages that it will, the Rapid7 will make more resources available and will probably further develop the tool to make it more effective for this digital forensic studies. And with that, I'll complete the lab. It was a good lab to practice on, so I highly recommend you to work on this one. Thanks for your time.